couple of months ago, I had to go through massive decision, and I felt as though it was a massive learning curve for me. I didn't do some of the things I'm going to suggest to you guys that I think you should do, and it affected my mental health. So I felt as though I want to talk about this to you guys, share my experiences, and hopefully it will help people in the long run. That's kind of the aim of my channel, is to help people in their, their path to succeed, in their path of success. So if this does help, obviously like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate it. Check out my, transferring to nursing video, which I'll leave here. It kind of gives you the idea of the decision I had to make. So yes, let's get into the video. So a couple of months ago, I recorded this video, and it took a lot because I needed to take my own advice. I needed to talk about what I was going through, but I was really scared. I was scared that people were going to judge me, and I didn't talk about it to anybody. And I really regretted it, because it was then all of a sudden a massive shock to people, even my closest friends, Lucy, my mum and dad, and no one knew about it. And I feel as though my first bit of advice is to talk to people and don't be alone in, in the decision that you're going to make. I felt as though that people were going to be disappointed in me, people were going to unsubscribe from my YouTube channel, because don't forget, my YouTube channel is me literally documenting my journey to that said career. So then when I decided I wasn't interested in going into that, I thought people were just going to unsubscribe from my channel. I thought that my mum and dad would be disappointed in me, and it was kind of like a really low point in my life, and I feel as though it made it worse not talking to people. So my advice would be to reach out to your mum and dad if you're close to them, or someone who you can really trust, a friend, and just say, I'm having these ideas about, I feel as though this degree isn't for me, I want to do X, Y and Z, or I want to withdraw and just kind of see where my options are, because that is okay. And I didn't think it was, but I think people need to get into their mind that if you do withdraw from university, you can go back. You're not a failure. You can then go back in 2-3 years time and say, actually, this is where I want to be. I think I'd rather, personally, I would have rather have done that than get 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line and I've studied a degree that I don't really want to do. So, take time and talk to people who understand you and care for you, and just listen to their advice and take that into consideration. Another resource that you can kind of consider with discussing your options is the university team, the department that you are studying under. What they will do is they will give you some advice. I felt as though that if I've spoken to the university team, they'll kind of be pulling me in, kind of saying, oh, don't go, we want you as a student. They gave me some really good advice. It was like talking to my friends, basically. They're professionals, they know what they're talking about, and they can kind of point you in the right direction. They can, if you're struggling with your mental health, they can, refer you to the university counselling team. If you're considering a different course, they can refer you there, and they can kind of pull a little bit of at the strings where sometimes you might not be able to. So it's definitely important to consider them in there, because they also want to know your process and what you're thinking about, and kind of want to know your mindset, if that makes sense. So after you've spoken to your family and friends and your trusted people at university, I would then recommend going and speaking to the university team and kind of discussing your options. Say that you've spoken to your family and friends and say, this is kind of what I'm thinking about, but it's not set in stone yet, if that makes sense. So finally, after speaking to my mum, my dad, Lucy, and my friends, I then knew that I didn't want to be studying paramedic science anymore. So I kind of already made up the decision in my mind. What I then do, and I really stress this is really important, is then to write down your options. So for me, there were kind of 3 options. Before I, actually in my head knew I was going to withdraw, I wrote down the options that I had, and I think the 3 options were that I could stay and do paramedic science and then finish it, and then after I've then graduated, come back and do nursing. I could completely just withdraw there and then and apply for nursing. I'd then have to go through UCAS, have an interview, and potentially could get rejected and be, degreeless, really, because if that's a word, degreeless. Obviously, you take that risk that they might reject you, and then you kind of then have to go through clearing, which, if that's what you really want to do, and that's, you know, you really want to go into a course, then that's completely fine. The last option would be to continue on my degree and wait until, you know, apply to nursing, wait until I'm accepted, because I have to go have an interview and stuff like that, continue on my course, and then if I get into nursing, withdraw. I decided to do option 2, completely withdraw from paramedic science and apply to nursing. You know, I wanted to go into nursing, I knew I wanted to go into nursing, and looking back, I don't regret my decision, because yes, I could have waited until they offered me a place, but during that time I had my exams, you know, I had my OSCEs I had to revise for, and I feel as though my head wouldn't be completely in them. I had to then go on to placement, and I didn't want to, I can't do something if my head isn't, you know, completely in there and focused on that topic. So I decided to completely withdraw. I passed my interview, you know, I did really well on my interview, and I'm really, really grateful that I did really well. But that was because I was able to focus on the interview. I prioritised that interview day, and that was, you know, it's a massive, massive decision, and a massive, massive day. You know, it's really, if I didn't get into that interview, then I don't know what I would have done, but I did it. And as I'm saying, so write down your options that you have, you know, and go through them with your mum, your dad, your friends, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, and then that will give you a clearer picture of, you know, talk about the finances, talk about whether you can actually fund and go back to university, because it will cost money. You might not get the funding if you're drawing in second year or third year. Would it be better just to continue out and finish the degree if you're in the third year? If you're a last year, I probably would recommend, if you're in your final year, to kind of finish that. But these are these are the options and the decisions that you can make when you write down the options that you have on some piece of paper and talking to your friends and family. So you have considered all of the options that, you know, I've kind of talked about. You've taken them into consideration, and you're now certain that you're going to withdraw. Another thing that you can now think about is, do you want to temporarily withdraw, or do you want to permanently withdraw? For me, I obviously wanted to temporarily withdraw, because I wanted to come back in September if I was to be accepted into nursing and come back and study at that university. Whether someone might actually want to, and it's okay if you do that, want to have some time away from university, decide where you want to go in 2, 3, 4 years time. You might not want to go back to university. You might have a job where university isn't required. So you know, these are the discussions that previously you were talking about on your options that you have. But then you have to have that decision with, are you going to temporarily withdraw or permanently withdraw from university, which is, you know, yet again a massive decision. But what this will then give you is, temporarily you can then withdraw and you can come back. I think it's within a year or 2 years of that withdrawal. Permanently, you will then have to go through UCAS and actually apply and then be accepted by university. You won't be a university student anymore. But what I would say is, if you temporarily withdraw as well, you won't have the accesses of, you know, the Wi-Fi. If you live on, you know, around the campus, you then couldn't go in and use the library and stuff like that. So temporarily, it's basically you are considering going back. Permanently, you're just not a student there altogether, and you're not thinking about going back to that university. First of all, I wanted to say, you know, well done for. I feel as though someone wasn't. I was scared that someone was not going to be able to say, you know, well done, that is such a brave decision. And I know that sounds really stupid. I know my family and friends, and definitely Lucy, was there to say that, but sometimes there isn't someone to say that for someone who is considering this. So I wanted to say, you know, well done. It is a massive decision to make, and you should be really, really proud of yourself. Like I said, consider it as a positive step in, you know, your career, should I say. Just know that you are not a failure. You are considering this in your, you know, the best interest for yourself, and you need to put yourself first, and that's really, really, really important. Only you know what you want from university for yourself, and it's important to talk about that. And if you don't, then you'll just plod along throughout life, not knowing what the hell you want to do. So if you feel so strongly about something, talk about it and act upon it. That's the best advice I can really give, really. I feel as though that this decision really shows who you are as a person. It shows that you know what you want from life in general, and you have an aspiration to achieve, and you kind of know now that it's okay to have some time away. You're not a failure, and I feel as though I can say this now, 4 or 5 months down the line, you will then feel much better, you'll have a clearer mindset, and you won't feel as though everyone's against you, if that makes sense. I felt as though everyone was kind of like, was going to be against me, and it's not like that, honestly. So speak up, speak out, and everything is going to be okay. Thank you guys for reaching to the end of this video. If this video has helped, make sure you do like and subscribe down below. If you know someone who is thinking about this decision and you feel as though this video will help them, then obviously share this video with them if you feel as though it will help. And I wish you guys all of the best in the decision that you guys do. It would be interesting to know your thought process on this, so drop it down in the comments, and I'll help where is needed. If you need me, message me on social media. They're in the about section on my page. Smile, everything will be okay. Good luck, and I'll catch you guys in the next video, which will be Monday. I'll see you then.